And away we go on this Monday afternoon on WFAN. It's Evan Tiki with the two Muppets from the balcony, Shaun and Loogie, anchoring it down. Rosie and Rascona with us along the way. Plenty of baseball, football questions alike, and the Giants did in fact go out to dinner with the Giants. Loogie, good afternoon.
What's going on, Shaun?
Well, what's going on is not a great weekend for each of the New York baseball teams, and I guess we'll put a pin in the Mets for now, or at least salvage one game out of what was a bad baseball weekend in New York, but so much controversy, problems swirling around the New York Yankees, and I know you tackled a lot of this post-game yesterday on WFAN. I'm almost not shocked at yesterday's outcome. Luis Gil, first start back. All right, give up a couple of those runs. Of course, you score enough essentially to win a game, but pitching's not good enough. But what happened Friday and Saturday, I think, set the tone for everything. And while we will spin this forward, because this is an enormous series for the Yankees versus the Texas Rangers, who are knocking on the door of knocking the Yankees out of the playoffs if they were to break out the brooms themselves, yesterday, to me, has to be the punctuation mark of the final rock bottom of this Yankee season. And usually there should only be one rock bottom of a baseball season. You hit rock bottom, you eventually come up. But the Yankees, whether it was the sweep in Toronto, those two games that followed the Toronto series against the Mets, the Boston series that bled into the Angels series earlier in the year, the Dodgers 18-2 loss, the Cubs at the end of the first half of the season, after they beat the Mariners like a drum for a couple days. The Yankees just cannot sustain getting this engine going and cannot capitalize on positive momentum. And positive momentum should have been paramount after the Tampa series and after the trade deadline the Yankees had. And instead, they gave you a big, fat zero, zilch, and in Friday punctuated by all of the guys they acquired at the deadline having a hand in what is a top 5 Yankee loss of the year. Just pound for pound, an embarrassing weekend for the Yankees. And we have swung this pendulum back and forth, Tommy. Mm-hmm. And I'm not ready to swing the pendulum and go, well, the Yankees aren't going to make the playoffs now. They're going to bottom out. I still think they will. I don't know and don't think that this team is a World Series team again. But how many more of these gut punch series are the Yankees supposed to take? And for us as fans, not to look like idiots when we still believe in them.
Yeah, this is not a championship team because championship teams don't make the mistakes the Yankees make time after time after time, whether it's on the base paths, whether it's in the field, whether it's at the plate. They continue to make boneheaded mental mistakes, which means they're not focused, they're not prepared, there's no accountability, there is no punishments, and there's just a really bad vibe and culture to what this team's doing. Do I think they have championship players? Yes. But I think that the overall just DNA of this team, leadership, and nobody's brought this guy's name up too, so I'll just come right out of the gate hot with it. Where is the king in all of this? Because he's the captain of the team. Everybody wants to get on Aaron Boone.
Well, the king is returning tomorrow.
Well, okay, but how come the king, and maybe he does, how come the king doesn't pull anybody to the side and go, you know what, you need to pull your head out of your rear end and do, whether it's Volpe, whether it's Jazz, any one of these players, because everybody wants to get on Aaron Boone, and you should. Aaron Judge, the king, has been along the ride with Aaron the whole way, the Aarons. And the leadership to me with the players, starting with the king and Aaron Boone, they need a total cleanse here, and I just don't see this as a championship team, Shaun, for everything I just laid out there.
You're probably right, and their DNA would tell you that that is the case, which is why, again, if you want me to believe in you as a championship team, Yankees, and I think most Yankee fans would believe this, you can't have many more weekends like you just had, where the same problems keep existing.
Well, how's it going to change? What's going to fix it?
Magic. That's it. I have no answer.
Magic now?
I have no answer.
What are you, Pedro Serrano? You want us to get a live chicken?
That's how ridiculous it is, because the DNA and the ridiculousness of what happened here this weekend, specifically with Jazz Chisholm Jr., cannot be understated. A lot of people, including myself, wanted Jazz Chisholm Jr. sat yesterday for yesterday's game.
Agreed.
He, of course, was not sat. Mm-hmm. And just like has happened with Anthony Volpe after every era, what does Jazz do yesterday? He hits a home run. Aaron Boone and the Yankee organization, whether it's a collective thing when it comes into holding guys accountable. Accountability is the new Yankee fan word, right? It used to be culture. It used to be analytics. Now it's accountability.
Yeah.
Every time you think they should hold a guy accountable, he comes through, gets a big hit, and then that justifies the Yankee organization that they made the right call. Rinse, repeat, same problems are had. But for all the Jazz Chisholm should have been sat, and I actually think his answer post-game on Saturday was worse.
It was horrible.
When he said he would do the same thing again.
Yep.
That just screams that in that Yankee room, there is nobody in the area. Aaron Boone could tell us all he wants about how he handles things behind closed doors and there is accountability behind closed doors. That answer, almost as if the question shouldn't be asked of Jazz whether he would make the same mistake again, was borderline disgusting. Now, Austin Wells doesn't know how many outs there are. He owned it postgame. That was a better answer than Jazz did. He sat the next game by default because it was a day game after a night game where the catcher was sitting anyway.
Yeah.
Anthony Volpe's dad is fighting with people in the stands during that Mets series because, he doesn't want to be questioned.
Yeah.
I think Anthony Volpe has had to wear a lot of this year, but again, there's been no accountability for him. He gets run out there every single day to the point they were scared to even add shortstops at the deadline. So starting with Jazz Chisholm Jr. on Saturday and thinking he should have been benched Sunday, shame on us. Because the Yankees' track record under this manager and under this regime is that there is no accountability. Now, we also had on Saturday night from a racetrack, Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez discussing what the old Yankee teams would have done and discussing, that stuff wouldn't have flown. Hey, Alex Rodriguez struggling at the plate once got slid in the batting order. He also was pinch hit for in playoff games. Alex Rodriguez knows a thing or two about being held accountable, ironically enough, as a New York Yankee. I say magic kind of joking, like what's going to change magic? Because it's not going to change if the manager and the GM is here. Now, Tommy, I know I'm chewing up a lot of your response time, but let me also just say this as the Yankee fan.
No, let it out.
I have been a stern believer that nothing, and I mean nothing, about this Yankee team changes if you fire Aaron Boone and keep Brian Cashman as the GM. Because Brian Cashman handpicked Aaron Boone here to be the polar opposite of Joe Girardi, kind of answer the organizational calls. And I think that Aaron Boone, whether it's, defending his guys at times and, the classic rants of firing, I don't think he's been the biggest disaster of a manager in baseball, as others have. But it is tough for me to even defend him now or stand in the way and say nothing would change if you got rid of him and kept Brian Cashman. Because frankly, whether it's the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, that kind of crap goes on in the other sports where guys don't know how many outs there are, where guys are just getting caught off a bag, guys are throwing balls in a dirt that have no business being there, guys can't pick balls out of the dirt, error after error, just like what got eliminated in the postseason. The Yankees should have warned that off of last year's World Series. They were a nationwide mockery of that fifth inning.
Yep.
And instead of owning it and saying that crap won't happen, the crap has happened on a nightly basis.
Yeah, it's got worse.
And if not for Max Fried and King Aaron Judge, how bad and pathetic would this season have been?
Bellinger, too, you could throw in there.
Bellinger, too.
Yeah.
So the idea that, nothing changes that I've had for a long time, how could I say that anymore? What is a manager's job besides filling out the lineup card?
Well,
holding players accountable doesn't happen.
Not happening. They run a country club, the Yankees. Aaron Boone is a press secretary. That's what he is. He will spin whatever's going on after the game. He's going to tell you everything's fine. He even got into it with a reporter over the weekend about base running. The base running's great. This started with Anthony Volpe. He should have been sent down. The idea that nobody is above getting sent down, especially early in their career. They coddle Anthony Volpe. They treat him like he's the golden boy. And this probably comes from Cashman. It's most likely not a Boone decision. This is most likely Cashman saying, hey, this is our guy. We're going to stick with him. But they love, and I understand the Yankee fans like, well, this is rock bottom. You got to get rid of Aaron Boone. If not now, when? They're not getting rid of Aaron Boone. They just signed him to an extension because they love what Aaron Boone does with the media. He is the press secretary. They like how he handles the media. They like how he handles the players. Forget this year. They would have to go 5 straight years of winning 60 games, which is never happening with the Yankees anymore, for them to get rid of this guy. That's why this problem runs so deep. And getting to the World Series last year, not that I think he would have gotten fired anyway, but by getting to the World Series, that is now a built-in we made the World Series last year. King Aaron Judge missed a few weeks. Heel was hurt. Cole is out. They already have a million built-in excuses. By the way, Shaun, none of that has to do with the fact that they can't run the bases. They can't field the ball. Dominguez almost outran a ball yesterday. He's like basically doesn't know what he's doing out there half the time. That doesn't excuse the bad lack of focus, bad fundamentals, and just mind-numbing. Like, watching a Yankee game is like head-scratching. And it's not the players, because these guys are good, and I think we've seen it with Glaber. He goes to another team and he flourishes. It's just
How
the
could
culture.
you explain Caballero on Friday night having a ball go through his glove? The guy has been here for 6 minutes.
I know.
And he's committing the same mistakes the freaking Yankees have.
Friday night was bad.
We talk about the Rays being a cleaned-up fundamental team. You bring him in, he goes right to right field, lets the ball go into his glove. How does that happen? How do you used to put on the Yankee uniform at a trade deadline, and it used to mean something. You used to, own it. All right, I'm on the big stage. 4 guys put on the Yankee uniform on Friday night. I actually think the worst is Caballero. I could deal with pitchers not sleeping and all that. To have a ball go under your glove like that, how? How do you commit the same mistakes the Yankee team is committing? Where does that come from? It's puzzling. Now, you say nothing will happen to Aaron Boone. If they slid completely out of the playoffs, I don't know how you justify bringing him back.
They're not firing him, even if they miss the playoffs.
There you go. There's no accountability at the top. They don't hold the general manager accountable. The general manager doesn't hold the manager accountable. The manager may claim he holds the players accountable. Sure as hell doesn't look like it. And what you get is a, $300, $400 million payroll that is an outright disaster at the art of playing actual baseball.
Yep.
Imagine Thursday night going to bed as a Yankee fan and thinking about that deadline, as many of us did. And basically, it's like, I don't know, buying an ice cream cake, putting it out, and the whole thing's melted before you have a slice. They deflated the whole weekend. The whole weekend where you look forward thinking this was going to be a new type of Yankee season after the deadline, and it was the same old crap.
Yeah, I think Thursday, the vibes around the Yankee fans and the team, right? You sweep the Rays. Cashman has a great deadline. You get Duvall right at the buzzer. And I would venture a guess, the majority of Yankee fans, whether they wanted to say it or not, were thinking, we're going to catch the Blue Jays. We're going back to the World Series, and we're going to take our chances there. And then you have the type of night. Now, obviously, I'm positive, Tommy, with the Mets now, but Friday night for the Yankees is what we lived through as Met fans for years. You get all these acquisitions, and they all stink to an epic proportion
and you
immediately. All of them.
You knew Duvall was losing the game, too, when they took the lead or tied the game. You knew he was losing the game based on the night.
And look, I think the relievers, in large part, that they got will all be at least pretty good to good.
Bird was better Saturday.
Yeah, Bird was better. And Bednar, we'll see. I mean, the guy was in Pittsburgh forever, so he might not, how do you say it? Acquiesce? No,
something like that.
Acquiesce. Why do words have to be so hard to pronounce? When we have to do a word salad here, can they just, when we create words in the future, can we just make them a lot easier? Anyway, he may not get himself used to New York the way we expect him to. Duvall has great stuff. He could be up and down, but I expect him to be good. The bottom line is that it's the little things, it's the fundamentals, and the way you beat the Yankees, it's very simple. You put the ball in play, and I have a new strategy. You should just walk their hitters because they will run into outs.
Unbelievable.
They hit a lot of home runs. Don't allow them to hit home runs. Just put bold strategy, Cotton, but walk the leadoff hitter, let him run into an out, and you avoid the home runs. I'm like half joking when I say that because the Yankees continue to be their own worst enemy, and I don't know how. Like, we talk about some of the issues, and we'll get into it a little bit later, even with the Mets. Oh, they don't hit with runners in scoring position. That feels like something you can turn around. Like, Juan Soto is going to hit with runners in scoring position. The Yankees' issues run so deep. How do you turn this around? It's been going on for years with them, and it's not always the same player, Sean. They bring in this player, and Caballero the other night, it goes through the wickets.
The common denominator, unfortunately, is Aaron Boone, who I think does a lot of things well, but I don't know, coaching the team up, and also furthermore, Aaron Boone, with the whole Jazz Chisholm getting picked off second play. I know he went down to the runway there with Jazz, and we didn't get to see what happened. Openly on TV, we were able to see what he said and yelled, and obviously we didn't hear it, to Travis Chapman, the first base coach. And he had no problem holding him accountable. Yeah. To me, I actually take that as a bad look. You have no problem taking a faceless, nameless coach, all due respect to Travis Chapman, and undressing him in front of the public. But everything else with the Yankees, with the players, has to be behind closed doors. And honestly, if that's the way we're going to treat things, and if it's all about the players, that's the other thing we keep hearing. It's about the players have to know this. They have to make the plays. They can't run into the outs. Opening day next year, I don't want to hear from the massage therapist. I don't want to see the hitting coach, the bullpen coach, the pitching coach. This is these guys' jobs to coach these guys into not making mistakes, and all of them are sitting there with a roster that keeps making the same mistakes. But yet, Aaron Boone has no problem berating those guys, and he should, while completely letting the players get passage. And some talk he must have had with Jazz Chisholm, if that was his post-game answer, too, after the game. Some talk that must have been down the runway to say he wouldn't have changed the thing.
No, that was pathetic from Jazz all the way around, and he should have been benched, but he's not going to. He barely did anything to Glaber last year, who had a million boneheaded mistakes. And Boone will do the tough guy act with the umpires and his coaching staff. And if he does it behind closed doors with the players, that's fine. But based on the fact that they continue to make the same mistakes over and over again, show me, in all likelihood, kids that are annoying and bratty and don't know when to be quiet. And I'm going to show you two bad parents because they don't know how to control their kids. So in all likelihood, he's saying nothing. And even if he is saying something behind closed doors, Shaun, the audience, you, the fans, need to see it. Like at this point, Aaron Boone needs to show in public, he needs to say something negative about somebody, and he needs to hold one of these players, if not a lot of them, accountable, whether it's benching them, whether it's reaming them out. He's got to do something to show the audience, the fans, the media, everybody that, hey, I'm in charge, and the buck stops with me, and this country club that has existed in my tenure here is over.
I'm willing to give the Yankees one more shot. I'm willing to acknowledge that has to be the last rock bottom because the King is returning tomorrow, and the King changes a lot. And Bednar has not pitched since the Friday night debacle. Neither has Duvall. I'm willing to take a deep breath and acknowledge that the ebbs and flows of a baseball season, but I'm prepared to be a sucker. The Yankees' ultimate elimination, when it comes, will involve some sort of Anthony Volpe throwing error.
You just know it.
Will involve some sort of base running error.
Yep.
And we will all look back at all these moments for the season, including today on WFAN, and say, we knew then, but the Yankees ran and hit. 888-808-1019.
And will the King acquiesce? Got it. Look at me. He will acquiesce himself when he gets back, right?
Yeah, I actually think the Yankees are going to have a big series.
Chrysanthemum, she got cat.
Yeah.
I got the word right, though.
That's what, the hope of not looking like an idiot, the Yankees are going to have a big week in Texas.
The hope of not looking like an idiot. You look like an idiot all the time. What do you mean, the hope of not looking like an idiot? Since when do you care if you look like an idiot or not? And you're giving a sports prediction. The idea that you look like an idiot after giving a sports prediction is nonsense. I look like an idiot because I can't say acquiesced. You don't look like an idiot if you think the Yankees are going to win. That's a prediction.
I never look like an idiot, Tommy. I look like a handsome fella. Much like Mike Francesa did in a new Eli Manning show commercial, which we will touch on.
I'm still not sure Tommy's saying it right.
Yeah.
Really?
It's acquiesced.
What am I saying?
Est with a T.
Acquiesced.
Yeah, no, I think it's acquiesced.
That's the Long Island speak. You know that, Scones. You're from out there. It's Long Island, but we say Long Island. So that's just a little bit of the dialect there.
Well, we'll work on that throughout the next 4.5 hours. There's no Evan today. There's no Tiki all week, I think. Maybe later in the week.
Only truly Tiki Barber knows where Tiki Barber's going to be and not be.
Evan will be back tomorrow. I believe last night he was watching grown men fake script wrestle. We're coming to you live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.